I'm going to show you how to capture inbound URL variables and map them to fields in your form. So I'm going to go to an existing form here. I have a little one set up. So you'll see in this form I have a first name, last name, and email field, as well as a date and time field, but I won't be using that. And to set up inbound URL variable capturing, you'll need to create an advanced design. So we'll say create design in the advanced designer. Now I can just add all my fields. And then in the settings, to enable URL variable capturing, you're going to want to go down here, and down in this URL section we'll say populate fields using URL parameters. We want to set that to yes. At this point you'll see a link show up to map these inbound URL variables. So click that, and then you're going to set up your mapping. So in the URL, let's say your variable, and URL variables are everything after that question mark in a URL. So it could be, form URL, question mark, last name equals X. And then first name equals Y. And I'll show you an example of that. So in this scenario, let's say exactly what I was just saying. We have our variable name as last name, and we want to map that to the last name field if it's included in the URL. Here we want to say first name. Let's map that to first name. And we can even do email. And we'll map that to the email field. So on the left-hand side, we're going to be putting the name of the URL variable we're looking for, and then the value given for that variable, if it's included, where do we want to map that value? So in this scenario, we're going to be looking for last name, first name, and email, and it has to be spelled in this way. Let's say if you set up something like variable name is last name, ln, and you mapped it to last name field, if we don't see a URL variable named ln, then we're not going to be mapping that. So we'll change this back to last name so that the URL is a little easier. And to add more and more and more, let's say your field has your form fields. You have a lot more than I have in this little basic form here. You can add as many as you need. So add another. It'll expose another mapping field. So let's hit apply here. And then we can preview my form. So in this scenario, you can see here that my form is at the URL ECT form 5. Now, we have no URL parameters in this URL, but if I was to add them, I can say first name equals Eric, and last name is Crawford, and email equals info. We'll skip email here. So let's just do first name and last name. Now if I hit enter and I load this URL, you'll see that we have populated the first name and last name fields in my design. And again, if this did have the email passed over, then we would see the email getting populated as well. So again, I gave you that example of, let's say last name was formatted as and ln equals Crawford, and I loaded this. you're going to see that now we only mapped Eric because we're looking for last name spelled in that specific way. And that's it. That is how you set up your form designs to look for variables passed in the URL. And if they are, and we see that there's a value provided, where do we want to map that value to?